Thank you. Thank you. I hate budgies. I hate them. I've got budgie phobia. I know there are people here, sitting here tonight, who probably love the tiny, feathery, curly little gets. But I hate them. I hate budgies. I've had this thing about budgies ever since I was a kid. As when I was a kid, we had this budgie. When I was at home in Manchester, we had this budgie, which was, you've never seen a budgie like it in your life. It was horrible, really horrible. I mean, it had ripped all its own feathers off, so it looked hard. It had thrown them all off. Thrown them all off. And it had got a biro. And it had written, Hell's Angels budgie chapter. On its chest. Hell's Angels budgies chapter, and it had this thimble on like one of them German helmets, you know, and it used to... just like the Hell's Angels do, and he used to walk around looking at, you know, these little policemen that they have in budgies cages that you knock over and they keep getting up, you know. That's the trouble with policemen, isn't it? And he keep going up to this policeman. What are you looking at, pal? Nut. Bang. Bang. It was a real hard case, it was, you know. And the trouble was, of course, as you can imagine, being a clever audience, with having ripped all his feathers off, you know, he couldn't fly. You know, so it's pretty hard, but if anybody was, he couldn't get at them, you know. So me dad made him wings out of an old cornflakes packet, you know. Took them out, and he made these wings, and the budgie used to hang glide out of the cage. He used to get on the hot thermals that were coming off my porridge. And he'd stay on these hot thermals, circling round when I was a kid in my high chair, you know, and I'd be sitting there having my breakfast, and this budgie, I'd be hovering all the time on the hot thermals, just riding on these waves, crapping in my porridge. And the one thing about budgie muck is it looks like porridge. You've never seen it. I hated that budgie. Hated it. That was the first experience I ever had, and it marked me for life. I mean, Freud would have sorted all this out on the couch and would have said it's the budgie. Twisted your brain. I mean, I see a pet shop now with budgies in it. I have to cross the road into a pub. I just can't. Nurse, go. Give us a drink, seen a budgie. What? You've been out drinking again? No, I saw a budgie. Well, the second experience with I was fated to bad experiences with budgies. The second experience I had with a budgie, it was when I was working in Manchester. I had this job making aerosol French fries, you know, for a new quick food company, and canning lettuce, you know, and I was working there in this firm. And I was living in flats at the time, and living opposite me was this beautiful nurse, an Irish girl, lovely girl. She was all raven black hair and fair complexion. She was absolutely gorgeous, Bridget. But the trouble is, you know, I just had no idea of how to address women, never mind undress them. I just didn't know what, you know. Until one fateful day, she let me carry 400 weight of coal upstairs for her. And she invited, I thought, this is it. The dream woman I'd been worshipping from across the lobby for 12 months, I thought I finally got a chance of making a relationship, you know, with her. And she said, would you like to come in for a cup of coffee? And I said, I'd love to, you know. And I went in, and she gave me this cup of coffee, and I sat down on the settee. And immediately I felt this. I don't know if any of you are psychic in here tonight. If you are, then I just won't talk for the next 5 minutes. You'll get the gags on your own. But for those who aren't, you know, I don't know if any of you have ever actually felt this horrible feeling that the skin on the back of your head's all sort of going funny, you know. You probably have been to Rotherham. But it was a really strange feeling, and I wondered why I felt so uneasy. And then I looked, and I saw it. It was a budgie even worse than the one we had. He was the Crippen of budgies. He was in a cage on the sideboard, and it had got one leg missing. It got a little crutch and a pirate's hat on its head, and a little man on its shoulder, and it's going around going pieces of 9 and all this bit, you know. And I'm sat there with it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to let this budgie I'm not going to let this budgie phase me out, you know, so I'm sat with me coffee and it's... The cup's going... She says, you all right? Yes, I'm just a bit cold, like, you know. Put the cup down and I thought, this is it. Make a play, go for broke here. And I just started moving my arm along the back of the settee like you do, you know, and watching, like, the telly, moving my arm around like that. And this budgie... That's the way to do it, get in there! Make it of it, give it some stick, give it some... Get in there, now. Keep your bread. I was telling you, I shot out of that. I could not stand it being heckled by a budgie. I shot out of that. And I was in my own flat. In 2 seconds, she came up. She said, what's the matter? I said, it's nothing. I just had a funny turn. I said, I have claustrophobia. I suffer from it. Then, you know, I started to come out. She said, well, I'm sorry about that. She said, because I wanted to ask you a favour. So I said, well, sure, anything. She said, would you have Christmas dinner with me? Because Christmas is only a week off and I've got to see my mum and dad, but I'll be on my own on Christmas Day and I know you will. So I said, well, I'd love to. It's very kind of you, you know, I'd love to have Christmas dinner with you. She said, OK, well, that's a date. She said, I'll get the food. And I said, well, I'll get the wine, you know, and we'll have a bit of a do. I said, but can we have it in my flat? Because, you know, I'm just used to cooking on the candle I've got, you know, it's good. So she said, well, I don't mind, really, you know. So I said, OK, I'll pick you up from the station, Christmas Day. She said, fine, OK. She said, there's one more thing I'd like you, if you could do it. I said, well, sure, you know, ask away. She said, would you mind a tiller for me? I said, who? She said, my little budgie, Attila. Would you look after him? Well, I said, I'm no good with living things. I said, plastic flowers die on me. I'm not much use with anything, you know. I said, me Paddington Bear got pneumonia when I lost his wellies. He's dead, you know, that teddy bear. I said, you know. She said, but he loved you. I could tell Attila loved you. He was very friendly. He was chattering to you. He loved, and I gave in. I mean, what can you do when you've got a beautiful girl looking at you with big eyes? I said, OK, I'll mind him for a week. I said, but I'm not very... She said, he'll be lovely. Just feed him, just give him, you know, his food, and he'll be fine. Let me tell you something. I'd never hurt anything. I'd never hurt any living thing, any animal or anything. You know, I don't even tread on cockroaches, you know. I hit them with hammers. I would never, you know, hurt any living thing. You know, if I could avoid it. You know, if I see a cat in the road, I drive on the pavement. Sooner hit people, you know. And let me tell you now, really, serious, I looked after that budgie like it was my own. I fed it, I gave it everything, egg and bacon, sausage, tomatoes in the morning, you know, meat and 2 veg, you know, chips and fish from the chippy. You know, it didn't want it, turned its nose up, didn't want, no, I bathed it. I felt stupid getting in the bath with a budgie in my hand, but I bathed it, scrubbed it, you know, and I put talcum on it and I dried its little crutch afterwards for it, you know, and I looked after it completely, that little budgie, and I loved it. And you know what it did? Believe it or not, this is how perfidious animals can be. You know what that budgie did? Died out of spite. Oh, I did, definitely. I came down one morning, it's lying there, legs up in the air. Finito, benito, wooden overcoat job, now down for pal. I tried everything. I tried steaming it fresh over the kettle. No way. Tried the kiss of life, you know, with a pea shooter over its beak. Going up and down again, you know, no way. I even tried the rubber band up the jacksie and the propeller on the front, you know. Through it, you know, just never made an effort, you know, winged it. Anyhow, I thought there's only one way around this. There's only one thing you can do around this. There's only one thing. Down the pet shop, get it changed. It's Christmas Eve, like the town's going mad. You know what the town's like on Christmas Eve, all the office parties, everybody's in there, giving it plenty of elbow bending, milk of amnesia, good night Vienna, pull the ladder up, I can swim, all this bit. So I'm going through town full of drunks, and I thought, well, I can't have a budgie sticking out of my jacket pocket, you know, because someone will borrow it and wipe their nose on it. I thought, you know, I can't have that. So I've got a Woolies carrier bag, you know, Woolworths carrier bag, and I've got this little dead budgie inside it. And I'm walking down the road, as a mate of mine, Nobby Carr, he says, hey, Mike, where you going? I said, I'm just going down the pet shops there. And he says, Mike, come on, have a few down in Yates. He says, come on, we'll have a few, you know, for Christmas, a few Aussies all in, you know. I said, well, Nobby, I've got to go to the thing, you know, I've got to go to the pet. Come on, he said, a few drinks, you'll be all right. So I went in. Just had a very few. I'm a religious person, you know, I only drink on 2 occasions, when it's raining, when it's not. Don't bother me at the time. And went in, I only had a few, and we started talking about politics, you know, Keegan, you know, Busby, whether he should have ever left, you know, and all this sort of thing. And in come this bloke, who I didn't notice, seen him round the town a bit, I didn't notice. he had a bag identical to mine. He comes in, 7 or 8 Aussie All-Ins, all steaming, you know. After 2 minutes, the sawdust is coming out of his ears, you know, the eyes are going round like this. I thought, he's in a good state. He goes off, little do I know, with my bag, leaving me with his bag. I've had a few beers. I said, right, I'm going now, Rob. I've got to get to the pet shop before it closes. I go off with his bag, in which is a 14.5-pound oven-ready turkey, which I'm going to get changed for an identical budgie. So I go into this pet shop. Picture this. I go into this pet shop. There's nobody about, so I put the bag on the counter and I start talking to the animals, you know. Hello, rabbits. Hello, anacondas. Hello, piranha fish. Have a rabbit, piranha fish. Happy Christmas. And I'm stood there. And the owner of the pet shop comes in out of the back where he's been having a bit with his staff, you know, a drink, and he says, what can I do for you, pal? I said, hello, kid, I want a budgie exactly like that one in the bag. So what? I said, the girlfriend's budgie in there, it's dead. I said, she's coming home from, I want another budgie, just exactly like that one. Get me one, I'll be in trouble. Finito, I get one like that. So he had a look in the bag and he looked at me and said, oh, there's one every year, he said. One every year. He said, do you want one exactly like that? I said, a budgie, exactly. He said, it'll cost you, you know, pal. I said, I don't care. I said, it's a girlfriend, it's Christmas. So he went in the back. Little did I know that in the backyard, he had about 30 turkeys that he was fattening up for Christmas, and he'd got about 10 of them left over that people had given back word on and not picked up. He goes into this crowd of turkeys who are all alive, right? They've been in this yard about 8 weeks. He's been feeding them on all the best gear to get them fat up. They're fit as butchers' dogs, these things. One of them's about 8 foot tall. It's the Al Capone of turkeys. So I'm running around punching all the others in the face and like that. So he picks this one, sticks it in this Woolies bag and sellotapes the top up. Charges me £25 for this, what I think is a budgie. And I go off with this muttering bulk in the bag that's going all over my head. I said, it's a lively one, this, isn't it? Oh, he said, you'll get your monies out of that, he said, you'll be all right. Now, this thing kicks 2 holes in the bottom of the bag and gets its legs off. It's dragging me down the road like this. So, I'm on the way back through town. There's Nobby down the bottom. He said, Mike, how are you? I said, I've just been with you all afternoon. He said, come and have a few more, he said. So we go in, Yates's again, a few more we're having, just very quietly. This thing's walking around kicking the landlord's dog, you know. And there's blokes putting the drinks down saying, I'm not drinking no more. No more. There's a Woolies bag walking around over there, I'm off. I'm home. Finished. And I stayed all night, had a few babies, you know, and come the end of the night, I went out and I was a bit tired and emotional. I was having trouble with my legs, you know. They weren't listening to the brain, you know, and so I thought, well, I'll get on the bag and ride home, so... I'm riding home on this Woolies bag, right? And the blokes coming out of pubs and they're saying, I'm not having no more, ever. No more. Fella gone past in the Woolies bag, I'm going home. So I eventually got home to their flats, right? And I got this thing in and I unwrapped it. Now, in my befuddled state, I just think it's a big budgie. You know, So you won't believe the trouble I had getting it in the cage. It did not want to know. I'm saying, come on, in there, you know, a nice little home, look, the little pillar there, get in there, go on. No, I put seeds down up to the door, peck, 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 go on, peck, peck, showing it, I'm banging it with my nose, come on, listen. No, in the end, it's down to the Vaseline and the brick hammer. Vaseline, whack, in. Did not like it, it's going, what's happening? Just its head sticking out the top, like, what's happening? So I covered it with a sheet, went to bed, got up the next morning, didn't feel too well, Christmas Day morning, didn't feel too well, I had like a bucket of frogs, you know, and I run downstairs, and I jumped in the car without thinking, and I went straight to the station, picked up, you see your mum and dad in Liverpool? Yeah, they're lovely. Oh, fine, okay. She says, I've got all the food ready. I said, that's great, I've got all the, you know, drinks in and daft hats and things and squeakers and all that, we'll have a good time. So we get back, she said, how's Attila? Oh, I said, he's fine, you know, great, no problem. I said, he's really looking well, in fact, you know, so... Because it's all suddenly coming to me what's happened the night before. You know, like it does, it all comes back. You think, oh, no, my God, you know. Oh. And we get in, open the door, she puts the bags down, she looks around and says, yoo-hoo, Mummy's here. Oh, my God, you've been overfeeding him. I said, no, I just give him eggs and bacon, things like that, you know. And she suddenly noticed what I'd forgotten in my befuddled state, to notice this one had 2 legs. She said, it's got 2... That's not Attila. You've murdered my baby. Oh, you monster. And she flew out of the flat, took all the gear with her, off, into a taxi, gone to a friend's nurse's home. That was it. Finito el Benito. My Christmas dinner, up la Swanee. I thought, well, there's nice for you. That's my Christmas ruined. And this thing's looking round with this, saying, what's happening? What's that? I said, I know, shut up. Threw a blanket over it. I thought, well, if it's Christmas, I am going to celebrate. On my own, I don't mind. I went off to the pub. Stood there in the pub, I've got a meat pie with a bit of ollie stuck in it and brandy pouring, set fire to it. I've got the Daft Dat on, you know, and I'm watching the Queen on the telly, you know, the sound's down, so we don't know what she's saying. It's good, we're all making up words and that. And in came the bloke who'd had my bag the night before. He looked as though he'd walked into World War III on his own. He's got 2 sticks, plaster of Paris on his legs, nose broken, stitched on again, eyes blacked, hair hanging half on and off, scars all over here, and he's got one of those blowers, you know those blowers that you blow and it unravels with a feather on the end and it squeaks. He's got one of those permanently lodged up his right nostril. He walks up to the bar and he says to the landlord, he says, give us a pint of bit of woolly, Jimmy. Sit on. Oh, I said, you had a good Christmas, Fred? He said, don't talk to me about Christmas. Christmas, he said. He said, I bought a freaking turkey. He said, the butchers the other day. He said, I got it home. He said he hadn't even plucked it. He said, there must have been something wrong with my eyes, he said. Must have been something wrong with my eyes, he said. If that was a 14.5-pound turkey, he said, I'll show my... I said, oh, what do you do? He said, I had to get the Ronson out and shave it all off, didn't I? He said, I shave it all. I said, I look at it, I've got 4.5 pounds of stuffing to get in that. He said, I've tried everything. He said, I'm pushing it. He said, it won't go. He said, in the end, it's down to the icing bag up the jacksie, isn't it? He said, I get all the stuffing in. He said, get the bacon waistcoat for it, you know, because... Tie it up, he said, put all the spuds around it. He said, I work it out. He said, 14.5 pound, 20 minutes a pound, that's... Call it 10 hours for good luck, he said. He said, so I bung it in the oven, go off to feather like. He said, the missus is there. She said, what you been doing? I said, I've just been stuffing the turkey for tomorrow. She said, oh, thanks very much, like. So this morning, he said, we wake up, he says. Oh, he said, the flipping head, he said. It's all over the flipping place, he said. I go downstairs, he said, the kids are going mad all over the place. He said they've got the action man sitting in the corner. The action woman's chasing him, nagging him. They got one of them dolls that eats and drinks, it's throwing up in the corner. He said they've got the scale X tricks. He said it's scale X tricks all over the gaff, it's up the sideboard, over the granny's head. He said they've got the cat sat on one of the cars, it's going down a slope going... Oh, he said, I walk in. He said, all the brothers are there. All the brothers, he said. All stood round the room like very heavy wallpaper, big lads. He said, they've all come out of Nick, he said. She says, I've got the sprouts and everything done. She said, well, you go and get the bird out of the oven. She said, so I goes over, he says, I open the fucking oven door. He says, you won't believe it. He said, it's lying there. He said, it's like a walnut with 3 matchsticks on it. He said, well, he said, I thought, see, all, he says. He says, I took it in, he says, I put it on the fucking table. I said to the brothers, I said, do you want a leg or a wing? He said, one of them puts the head in, the water, jug of water goes on the scale electric, fuses all the lights, sets fire to the loft, the fire brigade are in, hitting everybody, police in, all off. He says, I've got all this broken, he says, the thing here, he says, stuck up in the, can't move, he says, you know what I got for Christmas? Budgie. So I'm thinking by now, could there be a case of the mistaken identity as regards the birds here? In other words, if I got his turkey lurkey and he's got my... I thought, well, say nothing, don't tell him, because he's had a bad Christmas. He don't want to know he's tried to serve up 8 monsters straight out of Nick with a budgie, does he? So I said, right, pal, have a good Christmas, see you again. And I went off, run back into the flat. I thought, I've just got time. If I can get that thing down to the pet shop, get it changed for a proper budgie, I'll be back in Bridget's books, like you see. So I ran in the flat. I'd had enough trouble getting it in the cage. Murders getting it out. Because he liked it by now. He thought it was a Christmas present it had got, you know. A wire waistcoat is walking round. Looking at itself in the mirror. Oh, it's opening the door and scratching its belly. Oh, in the end, I had to shave its belly and get a sink plunger in and pull it out. So I got it out, stuck it back in a Woolies bag, sellotaped it up, and I started off down for the pet shop. There's I meet my mate Nobby down Tib Street. He said, Mike, are you coming for a baby? I said, well, I better have Nobby. He said, come and have one. I said, I'm going to the pet shop. He said, Christmas Day? He said, it'll be shut all day. What are you talking about? He said, but he comes in this afternoon for a game of doms. He said, come on and have it. So we go in. Top Kings on Oldham Street. We're in there. So we did a few drinks and game of doms, and I've got this thing in the bag, and I've shoved it under the seat out of the way, you know, right? Kicked it under the seat, and I'm playing doms like there, you know, 5s and 3s. Well, by now, this turkey has had enough. He is a very pigged-off turkey, as it happens, because by now he should be lying on a big plate, surrounded by hot spuds, covered in gravy, the centre of everybody's attention, instead of which he's been Vaseline, brick-hammered, shaved, sink plungered, lurked about the town, ridden home on, dragged about in a paper bag. He is very anti, right? And he rips a big hole in this bag and sticks his head out right between my knees here, and I'm sitting there, and there's his head coming out like a periscope, and it's looking round. And he's going, gobble, 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 like they do. And there's 2 old ladies at the side of me. And one turned to the other, she said, oh. Oh. Oh, she said, Cynthia, look at this, Cynthia. She said, what? She said, this fella here, he's got his American Express out. She said, well, she said, you've seen one, you've seen them all. She said, this one's eating me crisps, look. I heard a song about drugs, man. If you feel like joining, it's about a very special drug what we used to get, man, like round our way and trip out on, man. Far out into space, you know, like, man. Too much heavy metal, man. Great. Okay, man, here we go then. There's a place in Wigan, a place you all should know, a busy little factory where things are all the go. They don't make Jakes or Eccles cakes or things what you stick on walls, but night and day they work away at Uncle Joe's mint balls. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey, yo, give 'em to your granny and watch the bugger go. Away with coughs and sniffles, take a few in hand. So come and see and you'll agree they're the best in all the land. You know it. Amazing. You must be psychic. Although you haven't had a drink, have you? Well, me dad has always wanted curly hair on his bald head. Suck an Uncle Joe's mint ball, that's what the doctor said. So he got an Uncle Joe's mint ball, sucked it all night long. When he got up next morning, he'd hair all over his tongue. 'Cause Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, and you'll agree they're the best in all the land. We had a pigeon, it was bald, it couldn't fly too fast. Never won places in the races, always come in last. Though it was bald, no feathers at all, it won a race one day. 'Cause we give it an Uncle Joe's mint ball and it ran no bloody way. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. Me Uncle Albert passed away from ale upon the brain. The doctors said that he were dead and might never walk again. So they give the corpse an Uncle Joe, then stood back aghast, 'cause the corpse got up and ran to the pub and spent the burying brass. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. Well, me grandma said me granddad was getting old and slow, and the fire in me granddad's boiler had went out long ago. So he got an Uncle Joe's mint ball and he sucked it all the night. But his hot breath singed her vest and set the bed alight. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. I had a girl, her name was May, in passion she was lacking. Fed her on brandy to get her handy, and still she wouldn't get cracking. So I give her an Uncle Joe's mint ball to get her all aglow. Now she walks the streets of Wigan and she's looking for Uncle Joe. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. Well, anybody at home who's watching will realise this is not a very intellectual song. But the South Bank show's on the other side, so bugger off and watch that. Well, the RSPCA have got 6 tons of Uncle Joe's to give to all the honey mules to keep 'em all aglow. Our budgie now is 6 foot tall, the cat is 8'3", and all the poor brass monkeys are as happy as can be. Oh, Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. Once more. Uncle Joe's mint balls keep you all aglow. Hey up, give 'em to your granny, and watch the bugger go away with coughs and snivels. Take a few in hand, suck 'em and see, you'll agree they're the best in all the land. Thank you. Good night.